The Post.
Welcome to the Pulse broadcast. I am William Crooks. In 1882, a crowd gathered in West Shefford, today a part of Bromont, for the laying of a cornerstone at the new St. John's Anglican Church. The ceremony was presided over by Freemasons, and before the day was out, a tin box was sealed inside the stone, meant for a future generation to find. Nearly 150 years later, someone finally did. My guest today is David Therriault, a local heritage researcher who, along with Roch and Édouard Martin, spent 6 months hunting for that cornerstone, tapping stones with a stethoscope, threading cameras behind basement walls, and eventually spotting the clue that had been hiding in plain sight all along. On June 15th, masons pulled the stone free, and the box was there waiting. What's inside? He can't say just yet, but he tells me the whole story of how they found it. Here's our conversation.
Okay, great. So tell me, I'm not sure if I have the details here. You guys found, yes, a time capsule. Okay, from 150 years ago.
Exactly, or virtually 150 years ago.
Okay, so give me the background here. I mean, where did you find the clues?
Well, as you know, we've been working on a bigger project, Captain John Savage,
yes,
Shefford, all that stuff. And you've got so much, searching in old documents, archives, and all that stuff that you do come upon stuff that is not necessarily related to John Savage or what we're looking for in John Savage's history. But you do find little bits of other things you would definitely love to investigate. I mean, you read so much material that, oh, this is interesting, that's interesting, oh, this guy did this, thing happened on that property, whatever. And so you got to remain focused on your main project. But you keep those little bits that are also interesting, you keep them in mind, you write them down, and you say, we'll revisit this later, right?
Sure.
When we came upon this article that dated from 1882 called The Laying of a Cornerstone at St. John's Church in West Shefford, that kind of really triggers your excitement because, you know, when you look into this kind of stuff, you know that cornerstone can mean time capsule once in a while.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's not unheard of. So
yeah,
you don't find them really often because they don't leave many clues as to where the cornerstone actually is. They don't necessarily say there's something hidden in the cornerstone, and they don't report every cornerstone that's been laid through time. So
sure,
when you do hear about one, it usually gets found by somebody demolishing the building, right?
Right.
You just stumble upon it in the rubble, or the building burns down, and again, through the rubble, you find this time capsule. In our case, the article relates the actual ceremony, because this was a big ceremony back in the day. It was presided by the Freemasons most of the time. And in this case, the Anglican Church diocese was there as well, because this church was Anglican. And they described the whole process. It's a very thorough, very long process. It's a day long, and the Grand Masters from the Great Quebec Lodge were down here. And few people know this, but there was also a Freemasons lodge here in West Shefford in the mid to late 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah, it was called the Olive Branch Lodge number 50. And so they presided over the ceremony as well, and they described the whole thing. It's a huge day. A lot of people insist or become spectators to this. It's a happening. And so they describe the whole thing. And the interesting part in the article is when they start talking about when they're actually laying the cornerstone.
Right.
And they mention that so the cornerstone is being laid in 3 stops, which is a part of the practice ceremony. And then they go on saying that once the cornerstone was properly laid, the Archbishop from the Quebec diocese, or the Anglican diocese from Quebec, proceeded to placing the tin box time capsule inside a hollow that was carved out for this purpose in the cornerstone.
Okay.
And then they talk about a little bit what they put in there, and then they mention that this was new to us. There's actually 2 cornerstones. The first one that received the time capsule was called a proper cornerstone, and then they proceed to laying the super incumbent cornerstone, as they called it.
Okay.
Kind of acts as a kind of like a lid or something on top of it.
Right.
The thing is, where is the cornerstone? Because they never mention where the cornerstone actually was placed on the whole entirety of the building. So,
okay.
Is it at the bottom? Is it at the top? Is it halfway? Because there's a first 6 to 7 feet of foundations, which is field stone, like the basement kind of part.
Yeah.
Then there's 3 or 4 feet above the ground, which is nice granite, right? So did they lay this at the top of the field stone foundation? Is it at the bottom of the foundation? Is it at the top somewhere in the granite foundation? No clue whatsoever. The only thing we know is that most of the time they will lay it on the northeast corner of the building because it's very ceremonial. So the north represents death and the end of time and darkness and all this great, beautiful, positive stuff. And then you got the east, which represents rebirth and the rising of the sun and just a new beginning, right? So it's very symbolic. You're building a new building. You want to start off in the right direction, and you're going from dark to granite. You start. So that's the symbol of it, basically. But it could be on any corner because sometimes the northeast corner just isn't practical. In our case, it was, but once again, is it at the bottom? Is it on the top? Where is it? So last December, this is the story. If you want to hear it, how we got to actually start looking for it. Like I said, we don't want to stray from our main project too much, but in winter, there's not much to do. You can't really go out in the field and start investigating and doing field archaeology. And,
Right.
You get bored just documents and archives and all that stuff. So between Christmas and New Year's, I was sitting at home bored out of my mind and looking for something to do. And I thought, well, maybe we could look for this cornerstone because we can start from the inside, go downstairs and if what is now the cultural center actually here in Bromont. And we go downstairs. There's not access to the stone foundations all around because being a building that's used for not commercial purposes but cultural purposes now, it's like a lot of venues take place there. So there's offices and then there's shows and stuff. So there's chiprock on top of the walls in some areas where there's bathrooms and stuff like that. So you don't have direct access. So we started making holes. Of course, we asked for all this, obviously. Just go in there.
Right.
And start tearing down walls. But when we started this, I called Roch and I said, man, let's look for the cornerstone. We could do this. I mean, even if we have to go outside, it could be on the upper part of the foundation, so we don't even have to dig. So we can get good work done, even though it's winter. So we showed up there. We started asking people who we worked with that worked for the culture there in Bromont for office there in the cultural center. She said, yeah, it could be a good idea. And we met up at that point with her son, who is now an student in archaeology, but he was working there as a, he just works in there as a manœuvre in French. So, and he's really interested in this kind of stuff. So we met up with him. We hit it off. He was, common interest. And he got really interested, and he really was interested in Freemasons history also. So he became our special in Freemasonry. And we started working together, and we had eyes in the building with him working there. So on his spare time, he would also take time, have a look at the wall. And this sounds easy, but it's a very complicated process. Because again, chiprock on the walls, have to go through the suspended ceilings, or take tiles out, go from the top. So if you make a little hole in the wall, people won't see it when you put the tile back in. And we use cameras that have like a fishing camera. The cameras you would use to go down drains.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So all kinds of material we tried to come up with, and we just couldn't find anything. And this is a long process. I mean, we would go there 2 or 3 times a week. Again, documentary research as well, trying to find a clue that we might have missed. Nothing available. And how many times did I walk around the stone foundations on outside, the granite foundations, trying to look for a sign, a symbol, a mason's mark, anything.
Right.
There's just nothing. So throughout weeks and months and on and off, going back to, the archives and on site and all this stuff, we were at the point where we told ourselves, if there's a hollow in the stone, maybe if you hit the stone with a rubber mallet, you can hear different sounds coming out if it's hollow compared to a full stone. And we had a stethoscope for doctors use to your heart,
Right.
tapping on the stones that were more probable than others. And we could come up with anything. And Édouard had this idea, maybe we could use ultrasounds, send them in the rock, listen for what kind of feedback we're getting. And we were at that point in May, listening for the ultrasounds. I was there with Édouard. It was on the ground, looking at different stones, sending the ultrasounds in there. I was trying to listen. And at some point, I just backed up a little bit, and I thought to myself, well, 6 months, this is getting not depressing, but we're nearing the end of our resources. What are we going to do next? We're going to have to tear down the whole building stone by stone because there's nothing else you can do. You can't x-ray through that rock.
Right.
A machine like that would be 20, 30,000 bucks. There's only to our budget.
Yeah, sure.
So I just took a step back, and I looked at a place where a cornerstone should be on the building itself, on the corner of the building. You're starting a new building, you want it to be straight. It should be there. But I looked at the bell tower, and there are buttresses all along the walls of the church that help hold the walls up. And you can't fathom that they would put a cornerstone in a buttress. The buttress is like at 45-degree angles to the actual corner when it's on the corner of the rectangular shape of the church or the square shape of the tower. And I looked at the buttress and I looked at the top stones on the northeast corner of the tower, and I don't know how we didn't see this before. There are two little holes that are carved into the stone on either side of the top of the stone. Those two little holes don't appear on any other stone all over the foundations, the rest of the church. And right away, I used to be a lumberjack in my old days, and we used tongs, kind of scissors that are called tongs, that have two pointy ends that when you grab the log with, the more you pull, the more it digs into the log, the more you can pull. The more you give strength to it, the more you have power to pull. And I thought they must have been lifting stones using tongs also in machinery back in the day. It's a perfect way to do this. And we know that laying the cornerstone, the ceremony, the whole foundation is actually ready, and all the instruments are placed there for the arrival of the masons. And they must have had some kind of a lift with tongs at the end, and the two stones were there waiting with those two little holes where you would insert the tongs, right?
Right.
So I just right away I told Édouard, I said, Édouard, just look at these two holes. This has got to be it. This has got to be the stones or the process they use to lift the stones. And we went to the internet on our phones, and sure enough, they've been using tongs and those exact two little carved out holes to it where you could insert the points of the tongs into.
Right.
And they've been doing this since Roman times. I saw Roman buildings on the internet that had stones, and then they showed the little holes there where they would lift with the tongs. So for me, that was it. It was found. Those had to be the stones. Now you had to convince the city, had to convince everybody that you're now 99% sure these are the stones. And we've pretty much acquired a certain reputation of having good theories and proving them out here with the city, because we've done a lot already that you'll discover at the Journées in late September. So they said, okay, they're pretty certain, and we kind of trust their judgment. So we'll see what we can do with this. And so I made a post on my Facebook page about the fact that we probably discovered a cornerstone and more to come, right? And so the guy that's in charge of the building here in Bromont, the director of mechanical or whatever engineering for the city here, he saw my post and he contacted me and said, hey, this cornerstone, that's really cool. And we've got masons coming here anyways in June. They have to do some, fixing up some of the brick and the mortar and all that stuff. So if you're pretty sure and we get the approval from the city, we could ask them if they can, have a look real quick, if they can pull it out and see what they can do for us. And so that was cool. And he said, yeah, this is happening on June 15th. So if we get the approval to remove the stone, we can do this. And I said, yeah, keep in touch. Keep me in touch with this. I want to know what's going to happen with it. And he came back a couple of days later and he said, yeah, no problem. They said that they can pull it out, no problem, and at no extra cost. So we can go ahead and do this. And oh man, that was cool. I mean, that was good news.
Sure.
So June 15th, I know this is a long story, but believe it or not, I'm making it short. But June 15th, I pulled up there in the morning, and I had my camera, of course, because I wanted to document this, the whole process. And I talked with the guys, the two Masons that were working there, and they were really psyched up. They really wanted to see what was going to happen with this. And they said, yeah, no problem. We'll just pull it out. And the people, a couple of representatives from the city were there, and Édouard was there, and Roch was there as well. And they started the process. It took, a couple, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes. And the moment came where they actually had to slide the stone out and see what was going to happen. And I wasn't stressed. People from the city were a little bit more stressed than I was, really. And I was pretty confident. And they pulled it out, and the box was there. The carved out hole there, the hollow in the stone was perfectly shaped. I mean, these people were good craftsmen. They were really good. I mean, how you can dig a rectangular hollow in a stone like that that's so hard with chisels back in the late 19th century. And it was just perfect. I mean, there were no marks or anything. It was just a nice square hollow. And the box fit just tightly in there, like maybe a couple millimeters on each around, the whole edges, extra for the box to go in there. So this was a really well thought out process. They knew which box they were going to put in there. And everything was there. People were just ecstatic and smile, from ear to ear. And I was just filming the whole thing. And they took the box out slowly, and the Cornerstone time capsule was found. So it was just a great moment.
Incredible.
People won't forget this for sure. Everybody that was there has that carved in their memory forever, because you just don't. It's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. You don't stumble upon this every day at all. And if you look it up on the internet, there's just not a lot of records of anybody really finding these purposely in Quebec.
Sure. Now, my next question is, and I bet it's coming, what was in the box?
You know what? We were on CBC Radio Live yesterday morning, and of course, the host attempted the same thing. And we can't. I have a. How can I say? My hands are tied because the city is kind of using this as well to promote les Journées de la Culture. I don't know. They don't have an English name for it. The Days of Culture.
Yeah, sure.
Play it at the end of September.
So the big reveal is going to come.
Yeah, it's going to come. And anyways, everything we found in there, we immediately called the Centre de Conservation du Québec, the CCQ that they call, where they restore artifacts. It's the big place there in Quebec where they take care of most artifacts, and they have the expertise to restore stuff. So it's been sent there because it needs to be restored, and we're hoping to get everything back for late September, and as it should be. But we have pictures of everything, and the actual reveal, whether we have the stuff back or not, it will be available to be seen. And we have the videos of them, and we have the pictures of them, and it'll take place in late September. But it's an interesting stuff, and it's been there for 150 years nearly. And the whole idea of the excitement of this is that, we found a lot of stuff in the past 4 years working in the field and all that stuff, a lot of artifacts, a lot of stuff helping us prove what was on whatever site we were working on. But those are artifacts that are just dropped or thrown away, and they weren't meant to be found necessarily. It's just traces from the past you find because they've been lost,
right?
But or thrown out. But this is something which is purposely put there by humans 150 years ago, wanting to show us what it was like for the way they lived, or what it was like for them back in the day. And when you actually find one, I mean, it was meant to be found. So there's a human side to it that makes it so much more wow,
Sure.
So, it's like a real life treasure hunt.
Yeah.
ends up being successful. And it's not about gold and Spanish galleons that were sunk in the 1600s and you make yourself rich with that. As I told you earlier on, I have to go back to work. I still have my job, so nothing has monetary value. But on the human side of things, it's an incredible find, incredible discovery.
Can you at least tell me if what was in the box was in good condition?
It was in pretty good condition for something that was there for 150 years. And even though it was encased within stone, the seams are made of mortar, and mortar is permeable over time to humidity. So water did not really get in there necessarily in its rain kind of form, but condensation and cold, hot over 150 years. Metal box, there will be condensation because its air does get in there, right? So
sure.
So there was, unfortunately, the box was laid straight on the bottom of the hollow. So if the slightest bit of water would accumulate in there, it touched the metal, and the bottom part of the metal box was corroded.
Right.
So the top part was welded on. They used to be able to weld tin back in the day, obviously. And it was just completely sealed. But the bottom part was, kind of slightly rusted out. So we were able to access the stuff that was in there through the hole that was created at the bottom because of the rust. So,
sure.
But it's 150 years old and it's made of metal. So if we ever put something back in there, probably we will use a material they didn't have back in the day, maybe some form of plastic or polymer or something that would not be attacked by humidity
sure.
for the next time capsule, because we have to put something back in there to honor what they did. And so there will be a shout out sent to the public. They think we should put in there to represent us from the 21st century. And it's just a lot coming with this still. So
great.
Have to stay tuned if you want to know what was in there and what will go back in there later on.
Well, I definitely will.
That was David Therriault on the recovery of a time capsule sealed inside the cornerstone of the former St. John's Anglican Church since 1882. The contents are now at the Centre de Conservation de Québec, and the big reveal is set for the Journées de la Culture, running September 25th to 27th. The same weekend, David and Roch will lead a free historical tour of West Shefford's founding sites, including the excavated foundations of Captain John Savage's house. You can read my full article on the discovery at pulsetownships.com, where you'll also find our ongoing coverage of the Savage Project and everything else happening across the Eastern Townships. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing to The Pulse. It's how we keep independent local journalism going. I'm William Crooks, and this has been The Pulse Broadcast. Always remember, keep that finger on the pulse.
The Pulse. The Pulse. Townships interviews. Don't forget breaking news. The Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse. Broadcast just for you. Are you heading out for a cruise? Or lying there for a snooze? The Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse. Broadcast just for you. Hey, I know that guy. Hey, hey. I know that gal too. Hey. The Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse. Broadcast just for you. The townships are the muse. Make sure to choose the Pulse, 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 the Pulse of the Eastern Townships. Broadcast just for you.